Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we have another A Link to the Past All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches tournament match. It is Group G and it is mkosler versus matt7898. I am joined today by Foxlisk and Dwayne on commentary. And how are you doing today, gentlemen?
Doing good, doing good. Excited for a cool match here.
And I will set them off.
Yep, same.
And I don't know if you want me to list their PBs, current PBs, which I talked about with Foxlisk earlier, or if you want to do that.
Yeah, we can go over the PBs. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
Okay, they should be starting shortly, and I will leave it to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody's as excited for this match as I am. I'm Dwayne. I'm joined by Foxlisk, and we're giving you a pretty good matchup from the group stages of our All Dungeons tournament here. mkosler and matt7898. These guys are pretty close in PBs. mkosler sitting on the 111.42. Matt sitting on the 113.36. That may seem like a good distance apart, but 113 is enough in this category to take games off of pretty much anybody in the tournament, just given how explosive this category can be sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. It's very easy to make just one or two little mistakes and then lose quite a lot of time at once. So I expect this to be a very competitive race.
Yeah, I mean, Matt's PB would have won 95% of the races that have taken place in the group stages so far. If you're not familiar with this run, a lot of it is pretty similar to the main A Link to the Past speedrun category, any percent RMG, but we've got some real cool clips, one or two tricks per section, with the exception of Escape, which is just going to be exactly the same as what you're used to. Both these runners are going to be going through Escape, the same as they are. We're going to get to some of these cool restricted major glitches in the Eastern Palace section.
I don't know if either of these two go for the first clip, the citrus clip, but if they go for that, we can describe it more. It's a little bit of a faster way to get into Eastern.
Yeah, I would imagine mkosler for sure will be going for it. I think Matt also goes for it as well. It's not a huge time save. It's actually one of the more difficult tricks. The first trick is like the most difficult in the entire run, and it saves almost nothing really, 6 or so seconds, but when they get there, we'll talk about that. Right now, they're just going to hope for some decent RNG, not taking too much damage. Tournament race. So even though you've done Escape hundreds and hundreds of times in your speedrunning life, some of those nerves, something starts to go wrong. You get a little bit bad enemy RNG, and Escape can get kind of hold your breath.
It's pretty easy to get beat up pretty bad by the ball and chain guard outside Zelda's cell if you're a little
especially
shaky
when
from
it's not just me and my 2 viewers on Twitch watching. It's an entire other channel, and people are talking about my execution, and oh no, I just took 2 hearts of damage right off the bat in ball and chain. So it can be kind of not exciting, but a little adrenaline pumping for the runners, where usually it's not when they're doing runs.
Yeah. So far, everything looking very clean from both runners, though.
Yeah, dealing with the key guards pretty nicely so far. No big disasters yet. Picking up the boomerang. Headed down to ball and chain. This is the more dangerous part of Escape. Here, the ball and chain guard fight, but I don't know if these runners are 8/ or 1 pot 4/ or 2 pot. A lot of very equitable strategies you can use on this guy. A little bit bad RNG there for Kosler on the first guard, but
it's very reasonable to opt for a safer strat in a race here. But both of them clean it up, no problem.
Yeah, if you've already taken damage like from some bad RNG in the earlier part of Escape, you could definitely say, I'm just not going to die in Escape today. Let me pick up one of these pots and make it a little easier. No shame in that. And that won't be the only place in this run where they can opt for some safer strats just because of the tournament setting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Different players are sort of nervous about different areas, and so it'll be interesting to see what areas these players opt for a little bit more safety, and where they sort of go all out and try to do the best, even with the dangerous strats.
Yeah, mkosler, I believe. Let me actually check the brackets here. I believe mkosler's already played 2 of his 3 opponents. This is his last group stage match. I think he's 2-0, so he's actually guaranteed to move on. He's got a little bit less on the line in this. Let me actually make sure that I'm right on that.
Well, the seeding into the bracket is based on your average of your 2 best race times. So you
Yes.
can't just slack off here. You don't want to get a bad seed in the bracket.
Still plenty to play for sure, but it won't be the difference between him moving on to the bracket stage and now. Yes, he's 2-0. He's already defeated Hugh Tech and Other Tom. He's getting he might be the first person to finish all of their group stage matches. This group's moving along pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of races this weekend. This is the first weekend. Well, I guess this is the second weekend of the tournament, and everyone's free, and so we're blazing through these matches, getting a bunch of them restreamed, hopefully.
Yeah, a lot of good. We're kind of cherry picking the best matchups on paper to restream for the group stages, and we've had some really good ones already. We've got some more good ones coming up, and then in the bracket stage, things are going to get really wild because everybody's PB is going to be very, very close once we hit to the bracket stages, and things are going to get wild. Both players are back in the back of Escape here. Some small differences in some of these rooms based on what RNG you get. A lot of it is just read and react to these snakes, read and react to some rats. You got the key rack coming up for both players too, and where he goes can kind of define the end time you're going to get, since that can be a couple seconds lost or gained there. But really, it's very standard escapes from both players so far.
Pumping through the water, hoping for the key rat to go right. Oh,
Kosler gets a little block there.
The body blocked by that second rat.
Not the worst block you can get there, but a little unfortunate. At least he read it very quickly that it was going to happen, so he actually stood there and got the second boomerang off. Yeah, worst thing is if you think you're going to get that key and the rat's not going to block you, you throw your boomerang and you may not realize till you get really close to the door that you don't even have it. So that can be fun.
Would never happen to me. Definitely not.
It happened to me today. One of those things. Like, I'm sure I'm going to get it, and then a couple seconds later, there's no key. So both players getting through escape. Very decent times, 55 for both players looks like. So very nice and even so far through the first split. We're going to be mashing through this cutscene, and then we'll be hopefully seeing Citrus from both players. I don't want to put too much pressure on them, but
yeah. So I guess we should point out, if you are familiar with the No Major Glitches version or run in this game, you just saw mkosler and Matt's doing it also. You save and quit here. So save and quit is actually allowed in this category, unlike the No Major Glitches category, and so that cuts out a bunch of overworld walking time. Yeah, there's I think 8 or 9 times that you save and quit in this run. It's basically free fast travel, so we definitely take advantage of that. So now we get to see if Kosler goes up for a normal entrance or right for a Citrus, and Matt as well. Oh, neither player Citrus.
Wow,
interesting.
Okay, well, not exactly surprising. It's not a huge time save, only about 5-6 seconds if you do it really well, and if you do it really well is the key with Citrus. It can go very poorly and easily lose you time over just walking through this section of the overworld.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very easy to go for a 5-second time save and end up losing 15. So
and starting off your run with like 15 or 20 seconds lost just because you couldn't clip into a wall is not exactly the way you always want to start off some of these. When you've got much worse things that can happen when you fail later clips, you kind of just want to start with a clean slate. The early game in this run, you see they're only on 3 hearts here in Eastern Palace. Deaths in Eastern Palace, very, very common. Even for the top players will take deaths in Eastern Palace just because one thing that goes wrong here and you can be dead. And not a great way to start off your run either. The early game is very volatile in this run and doesn't get that much less volatile later, but
no, it does not.
There's not too much, now that we're in the dungeon, there's not really too much that differs here versus your any % NMG route, except for the fact that obviously they're on 3 hearts, that they have not picked up Sanctuary Heart yet. There's a small optimization, a couple seconds that we can save by picking up the Sank Heart in the next split, following the save and quit after getting the boots. They'll be picking up the Sanctuary Heart so that they have extra health and full health for Death Mountain and Palace of Darkness. You can get it here if you're really afraid of going through Eastern Palace with only 3 hearts. But then you actually have 1 fewer heart to start the Palace of Darkness section, which is, unless you take the refill, I guess, from the Sanctuary and lose even more time. So
So the other thing about that is that generally players get the Sanctuary Heart in this segment if they're going to get the Silver Arrows early, which is the most powerful safety available to us in this category. But neither player is doing that. I know that Kosler has said that he was going to consider doing that for some of his group stage matches, but he's opting to go for the much more difficult route where you don't get silvers and then you end up having to fight the boss of Palace of Darkness while wildly undergeared. That's definitely, well, certainly one of the most dangerous places in the run. I think probably the single most dangerous place.
Yeah, it's actually a great point. I think, I don't know if Kosler did the Silver Hours route in his earlier races and now feels like, okay, not a big deal if something goes terribly wrong because I don't have silvers in this one, so I'm not going to get it. But I did see they both confirmed pre-race that they're not going to be getting silvers. But you're right, that is there is a huge dangerous part of this run early on with Helmasaur King, where having the Silver Arrows can, make that so much easier and take away a lot of the big painful deaths. And in a tournament setting, taking a 2-minute death by dying to Helmasaur is
That's not where you want to be.
outweighed by for a lot of people by spending 30 extra seconds by the end of the run to get your Silver Arrows. So.
Oh, Kosler having a little bit of an adventure in the double red Igor room.
That's a dangerous
that's a deceptively dangerous room, yeah.
Oof, yeah. This is not going ideal, and actually both of them get low-bodied.
Goodness.
Boy, Kosler is taking 100 hearts of damage here. He's going to pick up 1 extra heart before going into Armos. As is Matt, so both want to be safe through Armos, because Armos is not something that goes perfectly well every time either.
Oh, I am very well aware of that.
It's very easy to just focus on the very hard things in this run, because there are some very hard things, and the very easy things can also go equally wrong.
I don't think there's anything very easy in this whole game.
Well, players getting through the fight without deaths, though, so we're through Eastern Palace. We're going to be picking up our boots and headed into one of the longest, well, yeah, definitely the longest split in the game, and, arguably the most volatile in Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, so I guess we should talk about that. So after they get the boots, they're going to save and quit back to the Sanctuary, and then they're going to do what's called the Death Mountain Ascent, the DMA, up to get to Death Mountain, which normally requires the gloves, which we're not going to be picking up now or actually at any point in this run. We're only going to get the second lift upgrade, but we'll talk about that more later. And so that lets them get up to Death Mountain and not have to do Desert now, so we can route it in at a more convenient time. And then they're going to do another clip called the Kiki Skip, which they're probably both going to do yet another clip to get into as fast as possible, called the Kiki Yeet, which will allow us to sort of walk through a transition that you're not normally supposed to walk through in the underworld and jump from a cave straight into Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, we haven't seen too many glitches yet. In fact, we've basically seen no glitches yet. You're about to see a bunch in very quick succession here.
Here's Kosler going with his. Oh, second try. See if they both get this. Very good. Yeah,
very
both
very precise series of quick hops there, and some good movements to make sure you don't accidentally transition or jump the wrong direction, which can be very annoying and take a lot of time to fix. Both players getting through the first part, no problem. We're going to see the first part of the Kiki Skip. This section of the run actually, a year ago was much more difficult, and some newer clips that allow us to get to the Kiki Skip cave were discovered not too long ago, and really breathed some extra life into this category because it made it just so much less frustrating to do this early part of the run.
Shoutouts to Yuzu, who I believe found the DMA, and I don't know about the Kiki Yeet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were also Yuzu.
It's a safe bet, right? Something was discovered in the game, probably from Yuzu.
Duck is telling us that Pinkus found the Kiki Yeet, another legendary Link to the Past player.
It was still a good guess.
So you can see here they're sort of in a broken camera state, and the terrain that they're walking on is not the same as the terrain that the camera's showing. And they both get into this Kiki Cave, we call it, because it allows us to skip Kiki, which is the monkey that normally lets you into Palace of Darkness. But you can see here they're just sort of walking through a wall that doesn't exist, into the basement of Palace of Darkness.
Those were some friendly mini moldworms for both players. That's a nice sight when you get into that cave and the moldworms just go the opposite way and you don't have to worry about them. That's good. There were 2 boulders that knocked mkosler a little bit, and so going into key skip with just a couple hearts, he is opting to pick up an extra heart. And now we'll be going through Palace of Darkness a little bit differently than you might be used to. We're going to exit here to actually officially enter the dungeon, since what we were in was, clipping from that cave into Palace of Darkness is not technically Palace of Darkness. It does let us use the cave state to open a door basically for free, so that we don't have to pick up 1 extra key while we're in here. But now we're in proper Palace of Darkness. We'll be going through, picking up the hammer and fighting Helmasaur King.
So this is, the inside of this looks a lot like the No Major Glitches run, but a little bit, we do things in a little bit different order. We go to the left first here. We skip a key. We did the shooter room sort of twice because we clip in there from the cave. So most of this is, it's sort of a funhouse mirror version of Palace of Darkness, where you do most of the same stuff, but kind of out of order. It's a little easy to get lost when you're first running this.
Switching back and forth between categories can be very difficult for this pod section. If you're playing any percent NMG and then you're playing all dungeons RMG, the route is definitely different enough in almost all of the steps that doing it slightly wrong in one of the categories can be very painful. Even the hammer yump is a little different because you're only going to see the players use 1 bomb for their hammer yump here, whereas most of the time, if you're going for the fastest hammer yump in any percent NMG, you're going to place 2 bombs down.
Yeah, so the reason we unlocked that door earlier is that it allows us to skip the the key that normally you use 2 bombs of the hammer jump in order to open that door and go grab a small key. But we don't need that because of the cave state free key that we talked about.
Both players got the free heart. mkosler is the only one that went and grabbed it. Well, that's fine. Matt has plenty of hearts. He'll just have to pick up an extra heart before he goes into the Mimic's room. But good enough hammer jumps for both players. That's actually even more dangerous in this category than in any percent MG because you're going in there with so few hearts. You can sometimes you can sometimes go in there with too few hearts and not afford to fail it at all. Like if you think you're on the right pixel and you get hit by the bomb and you fall off the edge, you might have no more hearts to attempt it even again. So it can be very painful missing that even once here.
Yeah, because if you bomb yourself and then miss and fall in a pit, that takes 2 hearts, and you don't go in there with many. So we're going through the Mimic's room here, and on our way down to Helmasaur, which again is perhaps the scariest fight in the game in this category. The fighter sword, I think, doesn't actually damage him at all. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you want to use the sword, you have to spin him in the second phase for sure. And yeah, this is the boss with the most deaths in this category for sure. Doesn't matter if you're a top player, if you're a beginner player, this is the place you're going to die the most, and it's going to happen to everybody. It's going to happen plenty of times in this tournament. Hopefully it doesn't happen to either of these guys right here. Oh, Matt with the sweet swag in there.
Nice.
Very nice.
You got to give Helmasaur basically get up and hug him in order to deal any damage to him with the hammer. So there's just no way to take it safe in this category. So hopefully they'll both nail it. They're both certainly capable of nailing it. Just have to hope that neither of them gets any bad luck.
Yeah. Most important part is going in there with full health, because the turtle room before that and this turtle hallway here, sometimes you take a hit and then you can only take 1 hit from Helmasaur. So being able to take 2 is a huge advantage if you go in here with full health.
Yes.
Both players doing the sword out strat to extend their hammer hitbox a lot. Much safer. A little bit, tiny bit slower than not having your sword out, but much safer in my opinion.
Oh, Kosler taking a hit. Gonna take it careful from here. Got
some decent movement there from Helmasaur. He went the opposite way. One of the most dangerous parts in the second phase is when... let's make sure Matt gets through here. Gets charged a little bit. Nice dodge. Very nicely done.
I unfortunately missed Matt's fight to a little bit of buffering, but it looks like it went smoothly as well.
Yeah, he took it nice and safe. He actually only had 16 hits when the first fireball came out, so he just gave it some time to play it nice and safe. The most dangerous part is when you get into phase 2 and he gives you a fireball. It's usually not the fireball that's the problem, it's the tail swipe. You can be
Yes.
focusing on dodging those fireballs in phase 2, and the tail is basically right where you want to be to avoid the fireballs. So both players took it nice and slow. This is a fight that when you're first learning in any percent NMG, you get good at it, and it's not so hard until you start trying to do it very fast. So it goes from hard to easy to hard again the faster you try to do it. So
Yeah, for
there
sure.
are definitely good safety strats you can use if you're worried about dying, or if you take an early hit like Kosler did, that just make it sure that you're not starting out your run with a 2-minute time loss.
So now we're going to get into Hera. We can actually just get into Hera the normal way, but it turns out that you can do it a little faster with a clip here. I don't know which version of the clip either of these players goes for. So Matt or Kosler here is doing the boots clip. You can also do a spin speed clip on the other side of that little, I don't know, hill, whatever you call it.
Matt's going to show the other version here. Yeah, the version that Kosler did was just a little bit faster. But if you're a little too slow, or you miss your pixel and you can't quite clip through the wall with the boots like Kosler showed us, sometimes the boulders can start raining down on you. So the clip that Matt did is a little safer if it's a little bit slower.
Yeah, a little bit faster, a little bit more risk, like very many things. So Kosler now is in the worst room in the game.
Oh, Matt's going to go for the, looks like the coffee break. At least he's positioned for it. Oh, maybe he's just going to dash through at the end. That's probably what he's setting up for. So there is a 3 frame perfect inputs you can do here to throw your boomerang and dash onto those pegs, and then get iframes indefinitely from the pegs while you wait for all the tiles to fly. But sometimes you can lose a lot of time by dashing incorrectly and hitting a tile, or hitting the switch without dashing and then losing frames to the switch animation. But both players just taking it nice, safe, and slow. Which in Hera, this is actually a split that can really jump up and bite you. You know, you just got through Pod, which we're all kind of agreeing that's the hardest split, and then you get into Hera, and it's nice and short. You don't have to deal with Death Mountain. You come in here, you got 4 hearts, but this is a split that can very easily bite you and start going wrong very quickly.
Yeah, you don't generally you don't see players getting any heart refills on their way in. So you go in with only 4 hearts, and you are doing a bomb jump as well. So any little bit of damage, and you're suddenly looking at maybe having to fight Moldorm with absolutely no room for error, which can get pretty scary. Speaking
of hearts of damage, Kosler taking 2 in a classic Beatles gone wrong room, which happens to everybody. So he's going to have to be very careful. Probably wants to pick up this heart after the Moldorm here in the petting zoo.
Yes.
Just give him 1.
Very wise.
And then go into the bomb jump. Yeah, having 2 hearts when you reach Moldorm, even in this category with the hammer, is so much better than only having 1 heart.
Speaking of which, my favorite thing about this category is that we get to just beat up on the light world bosses that are really, really tough in the No Major Glitches run. We get to fight Helmasaur Moldorm, with the hammer, which is much safer and much faster because it only takes 3 hits and Moldorm never gets into his double speed phase. And then later on, we'll be fighting Landmolus with the Fire Rod, which Landmolus is one of the hardest fights in many categories of this game, and really not a problem here.
Yeah, oftentimes the selling point for this category is, hey, you can fight Moldorm with the hammer because you got the hammer so early. You don't have to worry about Moldorm. So anybody that's played a lot of any percent MG is like, oh, sign me up for that. Yeah. Really good fights. Kosler didn't have great RNG, but very good fights from both of them, picking up these pendants at pretty close to the same time. Matt's got a slight lead, I think, based on his timer. Yeah, so this is going to be 36 sword up and 35 sword up. So 1 second lead for Matt.
Incredible. We expected a good race, and so far these players are definitely delivering.
Yep. And we're going to head into kind of a after we get off of Death Mountain here, we're headed down to Thieves Town. And there is a little danger in this clip. If you don't get your inputs exactly right, you'll soft lock your game here. But Kosler with that bonks his way down to the lower Dark World. So does Matt, so they both get through the only dangerous part.
That's actually the only way that we can get to Thieves Town from here. When I was first learning this category, I just sort of thought it was cool that we had a fast way down, but it actually turns out that the only Dark World portal that we can get through right now is that one on Death Mountain, so we are required to do that. This is like one of the... So there's a lot of clips that are sort of optional, but make things go faster. But that one's totally part of the route. You got to do that one, or else you can't get to Thieves Town.
Yeah, normally we'd have a glove. We don't have a glove. We're going to remedy that in this dungeon. We're actually just going to skip the power glove entirely. We're going to pick up the Titan's mitts here in Thieves Town, and then we'll have a glove for the rest of the run. But right now, with no glove, the only way to get to this section in the Dark World is to do it the way they did from Death Mountain. Thieves Town itself, even pretty similar to the Thieves Town. I guess exactly similar to the Thieves Town, except for two things. One, you only have the fighter sword, which isn't that much of a problem. But there are some dashes where you might expect enemies to die to your sword where they would in any percent NMG, and they won't in this category because you've only got fighter sword. So as long as you're prepared for that to happen in certain rooms, you'll be okay. And then there's one basement room that, because we don't have a glove, we can't lift up that rock outside of the prison. We've got to kill all three enemies as fast as we can. Usually some combination of bombs or hammers is what the players will do.
I think that basement room you're talking about is actually really cool, seeing the different strats and the ways that you can deal with it. It's a tough room to do fast, and it's one that generally you just sort of ignore in like any percent NMG. In this category, it's like really demanding and an interesting room.
Yeah, and there's not there are different RNGs. There's not too many like just impossible. Oh, the RNG ruined me in that room. So that does make it cool that it's an execution room that you were not used to usually having to execute, but most of it is in your control.
Yeah, exactly.
So far, some really good thieves from both these players. Kosler had a little bit issues in the Hellway. What else is new? Matt had a very clean Hellway. Kosler dashed into that spike. You can run a little bit too fast there. Really, wow, that's a really nice strat from Matt, slashing through that Patrick Star. That's a very fast way to get through there if you get that bad RNG.
There's a lot of bad RNG in some rooms in Thieves Town.
There's a lot of enemies in Thieves Town, so yeah, there's a lot of potential for bad RNG. Really,
both players
really
getting
nice
through that
basement from
basement.
Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, they were both very good. The last Zazak was a little bit misbehaving a little bit on Kosler's side, but got through it pretty clean. This is one of the few rooms in this dungeon where you really miss the Master Sword, because you can't just dash into these blue guys and kill them. So you dash into them, and then you have to stop dashing to open the jail cells, and then they're just still there, and they can give you a hard time if they're feeling unkind.
Yeah, any of these rooms where you're used to dashing through the Zazaks and having them die in any percent NMG, they won't die in this. So there's like an extra piece of the RNG you need to remember to read in a lot of these rooms. And at first it throws a lot of players off, but once you do it enough, I think, and make the mistake enough times, like, oh yeah, that's right, he didn't die, then you'll kind of to get it committed to muscle memory. Both players go into blind now. Blind fight is going to be exactly the same. Yes, you only have fighter sword, but he does the same amount of damage as Master Sword, so I expect both these players to be able to stay on the script here.
Yeah, so this fight is one that's terrifying until you learn the script, and then suddenly it's just a breeze.
Speaking of terrifying, we've got Matt.
Oh, Matt's
terrified right now.
Fortunately, he got here with full hearts, so he should be able to clean this up. And there we go.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, if he goes off script, it becomes the hardest fight in the game, because the number of times you've done off script blind is usually single digits compared to the hundreds of times most players have done on script blind. So good to not see a death there. He recovers pretty nicely. Blind going to the bottom of the room. He starts shooting lasers. There's heads are flying around, shooting fireballs, and you're not sure which way to go. He actually only took, I think, only 2 hits too. So not too bad. All things
dealing with that. So now we're going to do a little bit of shopping. We're going to get the tempered sword, and importantly, we're going to get the book, which is very easy. It's very easy to sort of do your normal route from any percent NMG and just pick up the dwarf and take him and get your tempered sword. But you have to get the book here.
Yes, please, both runners, remember to get the book. Other than picking up the book, it's actually exactly the same as any percent Skullwoods. We're going to get the tempered sword, even though we don't have the Master Sword. You can just trade in any sword to the smiths. Heck, you don't even have to trade in a sword to the smiths to be able to get tempered swords. So it's a nice point for us to upgrade to what we're all used to, especially for a dungeon that it becomes very handy in.
Yeah, Skull without tempered sword Skull's already a very difficult segment. We see mkosler going for the cool new tech, the frog door. should call it, because we're picking up a frog and also entering a door. Matt going for the slightly safer, slightly slower version of this.
Yeah, there is a danger in doing the strat that mkosler did that you may, it's pretty easy to avoid doing, but there is the chance of just completely hard locking your game and having to restart all the way back at the last save and quit point, which was after pod. So it will lose you a ton of time if you accidentally pick the wrong frame to be mirroring there.
Looks like Kosler took it safe and waited a little while and ended up not getting all of the time save out of it, but also, not locking his game. So very reasonable.
Yeah, the strategy that Matt did actually comes with 2 quick warps if you set it up correctly. So the total time difference between the two is something like 15, 20 frames if done optimally. So it's not even some of the top runners are going for that. And in the tournament races, some people who would normally go for it may just opt to do the regular strat that Matt did. It's still relatively new, so it's not completely in everybody's muscle memory yet. And, with the added danger of completely hard locking, although who would do that in tournament race?
I believe that has happened once in this tournament.
Can confirm. there has been one incident so far. Really nice spin speed there
getting
from
a
Matt.
nice
It's
fence.
not easy to... Oh yeah, and fence dash. We definitely want to point out the fence dash.
Oh yeah, both of them got it.
2 for 2 on fence dash. Fence dash to me in this category feels a little prophetic because you're going to be doing some additional 1-frame inputs later. Normally in any percent RMG, that's the last 1-frame input you really need to do, and it's kind of just a joke. Aha, fence dash didn't get it, got it. But in this category, it's like if you miss it, it's like, there's some more serious 1-frame inputs that are coming later. Does that mean I'm going to miss those too?
Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll both have great runs. No big mistakes.
I mean, they both got the same frame already, so they should be set. Mirror wraps are going to be easy. Worst room in the game here for mkosler, the mummy statue room in Skullwoods, where things can just go from great to terrible in an instant. And you're seeing a reason why here, because that mummy's got himself into a terrible spot. And he's just going to reset the room and try again. He pushed the statue just a little too far. If you don't push the statue past the lane that you want to drag it up, the mummy actually can't get... Well, I guess if you don't pull the statue down too far and you don't push it too far left, the mummy actually can't get in there to hit you. But because it was just a little too far left, the mummy sat right there. And Kosler actually had no way to...
Kosler taking a death warp.
Yeah, he's going to take the death warp. 2 hearts. You could finish the dungeon with 2 hearts. You probably won't finish the dungeon with 2 hearts.
I don't think I could.
So he's going to... Well, in theory, you could finish it, but I don't think anybody would want to. And you have to mirror there anyway. So it's at that point, the time loss for an extra 3 hearts is probably worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt's having a little bit less trouble getting through this. Just did the bomb jump to get the fire rod, which we need almost immediately to open the back of this dungeon. Kosler also showing off that you can bonk across that gap after the fire rod if you want to preserve a heart.
As long as you remember to slash the popo when you get out the door, which
yes,
it's very important to remember if you do that strategy.
I have definitely done that bonk to save a heart and then immediately walked into the popo and lost it again. Or the ropa.
The difference between 5 hearts and 4 hearts in the back here is actually pretty significant. 5 hearts is much more comfortable than 4 hearts. So Kosler's still going to have to do a little bit of work to be careful in the Mummy Hellway and then versus Mothula, where there's a lot of 2-heart damage waiting to happen here. So having the 5th heart, I think, always makes it just feel a little bit more comfortable in the back. Actually, Kosler's going to be doing 3 hearts for the back of Skullwoods here, so hopefully he can get through the Hellway here, no problem.
Oh, and he's doing a scary Hellway strat too.
Yeah, going
through it very nicely.
I guess he was feeling very confident in his Hellway. Although sometimes if you go with your backup strats to be safe, you can end up, messing yourself up and taking damage where you wouldn't have if you just did your normal strat.
Definitely true.
Mothula is getting a little bit away from Matt there, but cleans it up without taking too much damage. Kosler into his fight with 3 hearts.
Yep. And also, that was a pretty good moth fight, especially. That's not the nicest RNG, but he handled it very well.
Yeah, luckily Moth kept coming down off the spikes. If he had stayed stuck up there, it might have been a little bit hairy. But that's where you really want that extra buffer of a couple extra hearts, so that if you have to kind of extricate Moth from the corner spikes, you can take a hit if you have to, and not be on one hit KO after that. But both players getting through Moth without any unintentional deaths in the split, and we're still pretty close in this race.
Yeah. So what they're going to do now, they've got another shopping trip coming up. I think this is the last real shopping trip, at least the last big one. They're actually going to clip into the Tower of Hera again, but they just really want to use the door there in order to get their ether, which is why we had to pick up the book. We don't actually use it to get into desert, just to get the ether medallion. And then they're going to go over, and they need to get the flippers from Zora, but we don't have the flute. We never get the flute in this category. So the fastest way that we have to get into Zora is after Ether, you can run over to the east side of Death Mountain and then do a clip kind of like the Kiki skip, different, but the same sort of idea where you're just going down a screen transition where the game doesn't really expect you to. And it turns out that the entrance to Zora's domain is right below that, screen on Death Mountain.
Yeah, this split, and this section of this split in particular, is very notorious for just being extremely temperamental. You got a lot of Dead Rock RNG, you got Boulder RNG, you got some spin speed you got to hit. You've already seen, Matt had a little bit of an issue with the first spin speed. Here's all these Dead Rocks. Which way are they going to go? Are they going to block you? And then as you walk your way over to the right side of Death Mountain, you've got even more Dead Rocks that can go any which way and block you, and more spin speeds to execute.
And a nice hammer dash out of Matt. I'm a big fan of that hammer dash on that bridge.
Yeah, especially because it knocks the enemy out of the way too. It's very nice, and as long as even if you bonk, it's fine. It's a nice safe strat. Yeah. Here we are in a funky looking Zora's domain. Both players have pretty good Death Mountains. It can certainly go much worse than it went for both players. Getting out of that with only a 3 or 4 second time loss is really not the end of the world compared to the 8, 9, 10, 12 seconds you can lose up there to Dead Rocks if you block yourself, or missing the spin speed, or heck, jumping off of the ledge after getting the Hera spin speed can happen. It's just a nightmare a lot of times. For runners who are going for PB, this is usually like the pace killer split. You can be on really good pace up until now, and then just drop a plus 25 desert split, and it feels so bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of narrow places that have Dead Rocks right next to them that you can sort of make a wall out of a Dead Rock and not get through and stuff. But both of them handled it fine. We're coming up on what we call Fluteless Mire, which is normally the only thing that you technically need the flute for in this game, is getting into the mire area. But this is, I believe, the first teleport of the game, which we'll be coming up on just in a second, where they sort of will wedge themselves inside of the wall outside the mire area, and then the game is sort of like, well, I don't want you in this wall, but it pushes us out sort of a crazy amount. It does some calculation and has no idea where to put us, and decides to just throw us like halfway across the screen, which lets us jump into the mire area from this raised area that you're never supposed to be on.
Yeah, mkosler's going to be the first one getting over to the mire desert area, but Matt has one. Oh no!
Kosler soft locked.
He soft locked himself going up too high on the. Oh no! Okay,
That's
he's not
rough.
going to be the first one into the area. Matt had actually. You saw both players do some different swamp overworld clips there. mkosler went with the bomb clip, which is the standard, and Matt was trying to do the spin speed clip a little bit below where Kosler was clipping, and had a lot of trouble with it. Just gave up and eventually walked around. But you saw Kosler just transition on just kind of the wrong spot there. A little bit rough. He's going to have to go back around. It's not the worst, certainly not the worst place to lock yourself compared to some other clips you can do and lose a ton of time. But he's going to have to go back over and do the same clips again and get back into the dungeon, or get back over to the dungeon so he can start catching up again.
So you see Matt going through here. This is the desert is fairly similar to like the normal way that you do it in any percent RMG, except we have the mirror. So as soon as we get the big key, we can mirror out. And importantly, we do not want to go pick up the prize from the dungeon, because it is a worse glove than the one we already have. And if you get the lower glove, it just replaces your current one. It doesn't notice that you have the good gloves, and it just gives you the bad gloves, and that can be a problem.
Yeah, luckily we do the dungeons so differently. It's really hard to mess up your muscle memory and go get the glove. But if you do, I don't even think there's a way for you to complete the run.
I'm not sure. It hasn't happened to me yet.
If it was one of the dungeons that we were doing that was very similar to how we do it in other categories, it might be more of a problem. But you know, you've got the mirror. You're going to the left side first, then all the way to the right side, and you just mirror, and you're right by the door. So it is a thing that can happen. And you can just go and pick up that big chest, and I think you're in a lot of trouble if you do that.
And now we see Matt coming up on one of the most satisfying parts of this run, where he's going to just burn Landmolus to death instead of doing the extremely difficult, extremely RNG-prone bow fight. This can still get away from you a little bit, but it's an awful lot simpler than doing it with the bow.
Certainly going to be faster, almost no matter what happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of have the Lenmo 2 flavor. You can get some bad RNG. You can get some RNG that maybe you're banking on him going the opposite way, and might have to waste a cycle. Matt having the 2 cycle, but a very fast 2 cycle. It was the first worm that he lost, and just decided. The way this fight usually goes the worst is you're trying so desperately to get the first couple hits on the first worm, and in doing so, you miss the hits on the second and third worms, and then you're looking at a long 2 cycle or a 3 cycle potentially. So. Did a nice job keeping it to a minimal time loss, and he's going to be headed into the Meyer split, which this is a split where, anything can and will go wrong. I know that's most of the splits in this one, but this one is the most notorious for a big difficulty ramp up in the clips that you're doing and just the dungeon in general, the Vidi fight, etc.
Yeah, there's a lot of difficult stuff here. They're going to be doing a very cool series of clips where they're going to actually clip into Hera just as sort of a passageway into clipping into Swamp, which we haven't been to yet. And so since the game sort of thinks that you're in Mire, you're walking to a room in Hera and then in Swamp, but the game is just still thinks you're in Mire. So we pick up an extra small key here, and we pick up the big key, and then when we're in Swamp, we can use them there. So that allows us to get the hook shot way ahead of schedule, and in so doing allows us to skip a large chunk of Swamp later, which is very nice because the left side of Swamp is tedious and RNG prone and very fun to not have to do.
You're going to see a bunch of dungeons while we're in this dungeon, and it seems like the way we're routing it is really cool. It seems like it should save more time than it actually does. It doesn't save that much time. Like, you look at what they're doing. Well, we're going to get hook shot here in Mire, and then we're going to get to go to Swamp later and already have the hook shot. Like, oh my God, that must be so much time save. And it's actually not that much, but it feels cool when you get these clips. This is like when you're learning the category and you finally get a Mire that goes really well. It feels amazing because I just did so much complicated, really cool stuff clipped into 2 different dungeons, bomb clips, sword clips, just a lot of cool stuff going on in this dungeon, but very costly if you mess any of it up.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for what is, I think, about a 20-second time save. But it's definitely cool, and when it goes well, it does, as you say, feel really good. We're gonna see here if Matt is gonna do the Mire big key bomb jump, which I actually kind of doubt either of these runners will do, but it's also very cool little.
It's gaining popularity, that's for sure. It's been proven to be very RTA viable fairly recently, so a lot of players have started putting some time into learning it. It's a nice, 8-ish second time save if you can do it nicely. Matt's going to just opt to, retrack through here the dungeon. He's going to go back to the torches room where he moved the wall and execute the first clip that's going to send him to Hera. You can save some time by, if you grab the big key and then bomb jump north and clip through the rail. Very precise trick, but saves a nice bit of time because all that backtracking Matt just did in those 4 or 5 rooms, you don't have to do.
So the clip you're going to see into Hera and then into Swamp, they look pretty similar, but the one into Hera is actually quite a lot easier than the one into Swamp. This one you just sort of throw a bomb and then you get hit by it at the right place, which is a fairly generous timing. And then you're pretty much done with the execution. The one into Swamp, though, is very difficult. There's a bunch of different pixels you can land on after you get bombed into the wall. They all require different adjustments and some one-frame movements. And this is a very easy to lose a lot of time here if things don't go quite quite the way you're hoping.
Yeah, Heritage Swamp is probably the most notorious clip in the game. It's very precise, a bunch of different movements, like you said, a bunch of locations you need to memorize. Very nicely done by Matt there. He got rid of the mini Moldorm. That's the other thing. The mini Moldorm can cause havoc with you trying to set it up, but he got through there really nice. That was super clean, as good as you could hope for, really, to have in a run, in my opinion.
Anytime you don't have to use a second bomb is pretty good by my reckoning.
Yeah, I mean, the bomb, that's another thing. The bomb route is very nice in this. There are plenty of places to make up bombs. Got the half chest turn there. It's a very important chest turn to go for. A nice long walk to the big chest. Everybody knows you're going to try and get the chest turn, so if you don't get it, it's like, we know we went for it.
Yeah, someone in chat is asking if all the dungeons are on one map. That is actually exactly what is how the dungeons are laid out, and that's exactly what we're taking advantage of to get through them. All the caves are too, which is why in the beginning of the run, well, not the beginning, but earlier in the run, we clipped from an overworld cave in the light world, actually, all the way into Pod, which is the first Dark World dungeon.
Yep, if you've got 2 rooms that are adjacent on the map and a way to get through the wall in one of those rooms, you can just go to whatever's adjacent to it. And that's how we get around in a lot of this category. Oh,
another good chest turn.
Nice that both players getting that. The one noticeable one. A lot of times you can pass off, I didn't even go for the chest turn on that chest. We know you're going for the chest turn on the hookshot chest. Come on. So good that they both got it. That's 2 for 2 on fence dash and 2 for 2 on the hookshot chest turn. I like it.
Kostler also getting a fantastic second Mire 2. It's a very difficult room to do, and we'd have to do it once without beams in this category, which is even more difficult. But he nailed that. It's always cool to see that go really well.
There's a nice strat you can do if you're only down 1 heart from all your clipping. If you're only down 1 heart, you can actually play a 50-50 chance to pick up a heart from one of the whiz robes so that you have beams. Because having beams for some of the second half of enemy wave in Mire 2 is a lot faster than not having beams and having one enemy walk really far away and having to walk all the way down and hit the enemy. Like, you lose a lot of time chasing down the enemies in that room. We're going to come up on a Spooky here on Matt's side. It's not the Spooky, if you're an any % fan, that you're used to seeing. Since we didn't flute into Mire, we don't have the same variable set for Spooky. So throwing that block into the void and doing a bunch of slashes and a fire rod.
You got it.
Very nice.
I was a little nervous about that because normally you see players walk all the way down into the bottom wall.
He was a little high there.
Worked out just fine.
Hit the anti-fairy in the right spot, so that'll work. But you actually can't do the other pieces of Spooky that normally do. So that's the only room where it's really used.
Still a surprisingly big time save just from even the one room.
Oh yeah. So and saving a bomb too is also a nice time save.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Very clean.
You have enough bombs in this category that if you mess up Spooky, it's not a problem. You're never going to be in here with 0 bombs. But it does mean that you have to find another one somewhere and spend a little time picking it up. Very good video out of Matt. That's the exact same fight from the any % RMG category. So these players, both very strong runners, both have done this fight probably 100 times. You load up the practice hack, you do a few Vitreous fights to warm up. Kostler's coming up on his now. Hopefully this also goes very smoothly.
Doesn't matter what your skill level is. At some point, and I was gonna say, the Vidi fight can get away from you, and you're at the end of a very long split here where you've had to do a bunch of tricky technical stuff. This is a surprising place that a lot of times maybe you're not expecting your AD run to go south, but it definitely can. A very, very, very dangerous boss. And he cleaned it up nicely after the first hit. It's just one of those things. Once it goes a little bit off of the script, you need to it's all hands on deck. So a nice job.
It's really scary when you're off script. But he did an excellent job cleaning it up. We see now we want to get out of here. We could just save and quit out of here and go to Swamp sort of the normal way. But it's faster to do this than to save and quit and have to go through the portal and everything. So we just jump
in the old school safe version there.
Yeah. You get that.
Doesn't save that much time, like you said. Only I think 12-ish seconds versus a save and quit.
Something like that, yeah.
But there's a faster, more dangerous version of clipping into that wall, but you have to contend with one of the Dark World Zoras shooting fireballs at you. So if you're a little too slow with it, you end up getting hit by the fireball and having to start the clip over. So the far wall there is what players will do if they're trying to just get out without any big issue. We'll see which one Kosler does here.
Yeah, I don't know which one he goes for, and in a race context, it's pretty reasonable to go for the safer one. Nope, he chooses the fast strat. So you see that fireball right there. If that hits you while you're trying to clip, you have to restart the clip, and then your timing is off. And sometimes you get hit by a second fireball because you're flustered, and it's definitely a scarier one. But he gets it very cleanly.
Like a lot of the clips in this run, if you do it right the first time, it's great. If you don't do it right the first time, things can quickly escalate.
Yeah. We see now Swamp looks very normal, but since we already have the hook shot, we're just going to get this key up here, and then we're going to go run straight to the boss. There's another really cool glitch here. It was found very recently called Diver Down. And normally, until about a month ago, the only way to get down here was to go to the left in this room that Matt's in and push a statue onto a block, and so on and so forth. But now we found this cool way where we can clip into this wall a little bit by sort of walking into a Samaria block, and the game is like, well, you kind of moved down and you kind of didn't, and I don't really know the details, but in the end, we get through that rail and we just jump down and walk out without having to drain the water.
Yeah, it looks very cool, looks very precise. It's pretty easy to execute once you spend a couple minutes with it. And it's great. It's great from the sense that messing it up is not a huge deal. It's very easy to just kind of try it again. If you miss your movement, there are some one frame movements you need to do there, but if you miss them, it's not a big deal. The Samaria block just stays there. Maybe you lose a couple seconds. So it's a good piece of tech that's not ever really going to kill you.
It's very hard to lose time doing it once you've practiced it for half an hour. You can save more time, but you're pretty much always saving time with it, and it looks really cool also. Unfortunately, I was talking about that there and missed that. Did he get the 1 cycle or the 0 cycle?
He got a fast 1 cycle. He didn't go for the hook dash 0 cycle, but did clean him up before getting a movement there on the 2nd cycle. So
I saw Kosler practicing the 0 cycle before the race, so I expect him to go for that. Hopefully he'll get it. It's a very cool strat. It's very difficult. It saves a few seconds by killing all of the puffs before what's his name, Argus, starts spinning around and wasting your time with that.
Missed a couple of the first hook dashes, but is moving now. I don't know if he has enough time. Yeah.
Oh, looks like he got the fake 1 cycle.
And he missed the first couple attempts at the hook dash, and sometimes, depending on Argus's movement, that means you're not going to have enough time to kill all the puffs before he's done moving. So, still, gets the fast 1 cycle is fine, and puts Swamp in the rear view. We're headed into a very serious split, a very fast split if done correctly, but a very serious split. We're going to see our first mirror wrap as we get into Ice Palace, and then we're going to see some really fast and furious tricks and glitches in this 3.5 minute split. So the first thing Matt's going to do is take a spin speed out of here and clip into this wall with a hook dash towards Ice Palace. And then he's going to have to execute a same frame trick where he's going to screen scroll after he goes to the right, back to the left. Oh, he's not in the right spot there. He's going to move up. He's got to use the mirror.
Does he know how to correct this? Okay, excellent.
Yep. Okay, good. He went with the old way. Now he's got to move back to the left there and mirror on the same frame. So you have to hit both buttons at the same time, which he does there on the second try. Very tough to do. Sounds easy. Hit both buttons at the same time, but very tough to do.
It's one of those things that it's easy to do right, and it's also easy to do wrong. No matter how much you practice it, sometime you're just not going to get it.
And if you miss it a few times in a row, or if you mirror instead of screen scroll, he transitioned left without mirroring, which is bad, but not too bad. If you mirror instead of screen transition, now you got to wait for the mirror transition. You got to go back into your portal and wait there again. It's just it's interminable when you miss it. Kosler also getting his very nicely.
Yeah, it looks like Kosler got his on the first try, saved a little bit of time.
We're going to see some Icebreaker now here from Matt. This is also a fairly new glitch that's going to let us walk right through this wall.
Very nicely done on Matt's side.
Basically, you're using the Samaria block to trick Link into thinking he's still in the door, which, the game says, hey, you're in a door. There can't be anything in your way, including this giant tile-wide wall. So let's just walk right through it.
this trick is somewhat similar to Diver Down in terms of difficulty, I think anyway. But if you mess it up, you can only mess it up a couple times before you have to start worrying about having enough magic for Cold Stare down at the end of this basement. So it's a little bit scarier if you don't nail it on your first try.
And it's one of those tricks, at least for me, missing it the first time. I might be 95% at getting it the first time. If I miss it that first time, I'm like 30% at getting it the rest of my attempts. So you can very easily stand there for 30 seconds. Oh man, that almost the perfect stair clip there from Kosler. Gets the left side, but we've got Matt dropping into Cold Stare. We've got Kosler heading towards Cold Stare. This is, we have a few more hearts than we normally do in other categories for this guy, but he can kill you just as fast in this category if you're not careful.
Yeah, you're supposed to. The game wants you to get the blue mail in this category, but that, of course, requires doing something that's not completing a dungeon, so we're not going to get that. And so Cold Stare does 4 hearts if you skip the blue mail, which basically is 2, even in this category, depending on how well things went, is usually 2 and sometimes 3 hits until you're dead. So,
and I think we keep saying the same thing, but again, an easy fight when it's on script, and the second it goes off script, it becomes... Okay. He did get both spins off there. We saw a couple different strats there. The Kosler went for the single poke dash into double spin. Matt did the 6 slash. I think he needed 7 slashes to do his 6 slash, but a couple different strategies you can use on Cold Stare. Some are a tiny bit faster. Really, you want to go with the strat that you're most confident in on Cold Stare, and that's going to be the best one.
For sure. Anything that gets you through is fine.
This is still really close. Matt's holding on to the small lead. But, a lot of stuff can happen. T-Rock and GT coming up.
So we're going to do another... so the way we get into Turtle Rock, it saves a ton of time, but it requires a lot of stuff. It's very easy to mess up and lose quite a lot of time. They're going to do a teleport into a wall, kind of the way we did our Mire entrance. But this time we can't just walk through it. We're sort of deep into a wall, and we have to do a little bit of wiggling in order to get through the screen transition. But then once we get through the screen transition, we have to do an ice wrap, or a mirror wrap. This is like the ice wrap, but this one's into Turtle Rock. And either of those things can go wrong. And if either of them, if the clipping in goes wrong, you pretty much have to save and quit and start again, which loses a ton of time.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities for disaster in this split. And
yeah. Oh,
we actually
Matt
saw
going for a chest turn.
Oh yeah, can't hide that one. You definitely went for that one and missed it. Seeing 2 different strategies of getting to Ice Rod Cave. Kosler's going to do the clip and bomb through. Matt did just the vanilla walk up there, bomb it open, and go in for the Ice Rod. A little faster the way Kosler is doing it, but there is a chance of doing the clip wrong, doing the teleport wrong. Gets the chest turn also, so exerting his dominance on Matt, saying, hey, I'm right behind you. Here I come. Look at me saving frames on this chest turn. Well, I guess not saving frames, but saving frames versus Matt, who missed his, so... So yeah,
all right, so here we go.
We've gone
Matt
up the
mountain,
like you said, and now we're going to be clipping kind of onto this ledge here and doing another mirror wrap to kind of put ourselves in line to jump down to the back entrance of Turtle Rock.
All right, gets the clip part just fine. Having a little trouble with the mirror wrap.
Moving up there. I don't know if you want to move up when you miss that.
Okay.
I don't know where this is going to put him.
you want to move up when you miss the mirror wrap in ice. You do want to move up, but I don't know if you want to do that here.
Yeah,
maybe he was just
he might be in the wrong spot now. Yeah.
Confused. All right, Kosler getting through his little better. So now we enter Turtle Rock from the sort of back door on the laser bridge. Now we're going to do this dungeon in reverse, which is pretty cool and a lot easier. There's no chain chomps to contend with. There's no roller room where you have to do really dangerous stuff to get through it fast. These rooms are not designed to be done in this order, and they're mostly easier coming from the back.
Yeah, the most interesting part of this dungeon is it's a dungeon where basically none of your muscle memory applies. Every single one of these rooms until you get to, I guess, to Trinex, is different than you're doing them in other categories because they're all backwards.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing and a bad thing because you have to kind of learn all of these. Okay, got the mirror up that time. Yeah, this is a great example of just how volatile this can be. Just one slight misposition from Matt, and you're stuck in a wall somewhere. You've got to save and quit and go all the way back and try it again. And this is not the only place where that can happen. It's if you keep watching some of these tournament races, you're going to see plenty of races where we've piled up the disasters even way before we get to this point. Oh, this
People joke that the AD stands for all disasters instead of all dungeons. It's really easy for things to go wrong in a hurry.
We're going to have Matt kind of on one-hit KO for the rest of his Turtle Rock here after getting a little bodied by the mini Helmasaur, which one of the worst enemies in the game, those mini Helmasaurs. They're so hard to read which way they're going and how fast they're going. It can just take you totally by surprise. And you're seeing the kind of cool routing we can do on mkosler side. You pick up the big key and we just mirror and we go right to Trinex.
And then even this peg puzzle room is different than it normally would be. Got to do a slightly different strat. Didn't quite get the very cool. I at least think it's very cool when you blow up a Samaria block and then sort of race it to the second switch.
That is a cursed strat if I've ever seen one.
I love it.
I can't not get bodied by the Helmasaur, and so I've just adopted a policy of doing the safest thing around any mini Helmasaur that I can.
Very reasonable. We're going for the backdoor quick kill here.
Should be something both players are pretty familiar with. This is the way you fight him in most any major category that you're doing.
Very good.
It'll be a little scary for Matt because, like we said, he's going to be on basically one-hit KO when he gets there. Second phase for Kosler. Looks like he's set up in a good spot. 2 spins and a slash.
Excellent. Matt might get his revenge on the Helmasaur. No, just running past it. I might have killed that Helmasaur.
You're also always happy when the Helmasaur just stays away, though. So can't be too upset if you don't get a chance to kill him.
Oh wow!
This is a dangerous. Oh my! Ooh!
Can't believe he survived that, but that's good.
I wasn't sure which way the Pokey was going to go. Yeah, that's true. It might not have been visible to us, but it looked scary. That room in this category, actually, that Pokey can be in a totally different spot than you're expecting because the way you do that room is different. So
yeah,
a little bit off on this. He's gonna have to be careful of the. I'm just gonna hold my breath.
Okay. Oh no! Oh,
dang! I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but these fights are easy until they go off script, and then you have no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's not as terrible in this category, dying to Trinex, because we're only 2 rooms away. Yeah, it's you don't have a lot of health in this dungeon. If you're not lucky enough to pick up a fairy, either when you're doing the eclipse or when you are. Oh, dang! Matt is
not sure what Matt's doing.
Thinks he's fixing fake dark world.
Oh, he's fixing fake dark world.
I don't think he.
I don't think you need to.
No.
So fake dark world is the thing where, since Aghanim's not dead, if you die in a dark world dungeon, the game sort of gets confused, and sometimes it interferes with your ability to get the crystal at the end. You can just get sort of soft locked in the boss room. But Turtle Rock is not one of the ones, I believe, where that is something that you actually have to fix.
Yeah, I don't think you have to do it in Turtle Rock, but if you don't know, I guess it's kind of better safe than sorry. There are dungeons you definitely do have to exit the dungeon and mirror to Dark World from your fake Dark World and then go back in, but I don't think he needs to in Turtle Rock.
Yeah.
But if he's not sure about that, then I can understand just, making sure that, nothing terribly bad is about to happen when I try and finish this dungeon, so.
Yeah. So, Kosler climbing, or well, not quite to the climb part yet, going through the basement of Gannis Tower, which is traditionally the last dungeon in a run, but we actually haven't done Aghanim's Tower. So what we do, the routing here is we do Ganon's Tower, and then after that we get placed right outside of Hyrule Castle, except that we're in the Dark World. So we just mirror, and we'll do Aghanim's Tower as our last dungeon, which some people love because it means you all the RNGs at the end of the run. So you just sort of do your best, and then you get to relax and find out how it went. Some people hate it for exactly the same reason, but we do sort of backload all the.
Yeah, hey, if you get good RNG, then you love it. And when you get bad RNG, you're like, oh, how disappointing. We actually missed the GT clip on Kosler side. We're going to see it in a second here from Matt. We actually can't just walk to GT from Turtle Rock because Turtle Rock is not open. So when we beat Trinex, we're just kind of standing inside the entrance to Turtle Rock and can't go anywhere. So we have to do a clip that actually doesn't even really save us any time versus in NMG just running over to Ganon's Tower. But it is in this category the fastest way to get up there.
Yeah, the alternative I think is like mirroring and then opening the portal and running over, and that just takes forever. Kosler's a little light on arrows here.
Yeah, 0 arrows in this category, not what you want to end the fight with. He's going to pick up the 10 here, but you're using a couple extra arrows to start this upstairs portion. And we also are going to see a little difference in Kosler not taking the safety hearts from the old man at the start of the split. And I think Matt has soft locked himself on that jump.
It's easy to do. You have to press a direction. I don't even know what it is. My fingers just do it when I'm there. And it makes no sense that you have to do that, and it's very easy to forget, and then you're just stuck up there in a wall you can't see.
Yeah, so we've got Kosler on fewer hearts because he didn't take the safety hearts. Matt is taking the safety hearts, so he's going to be on full hearts. We also saw Kosler try to do the Michael Jackson room, the safe way to not take damage. He ended up taking 3 hearts of damage in the room, doing it the slow way. He's got to pick up the arrows here. He's getting bodied by the lasers.
Having a Mimics adventure. Oh, that's rough.
He's only got 4 arrows. He may need to pick up the arrows on the right side before going back up.
Yeah.
He's going to have to fix Fake Dark World here, I think, with GT.
So you don't actually have to. You just get an Aga 1 fight at the top, which sucks to fight Aghanim 1 twice in the same run. But it's not...
Really banking on that good RNG, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a problem. You can still complete the run. You just get up there and then you prepare for the difficult Aga 2 fight and instead get the RNG fight. Yeah, someone in chat is asking, it is still a valid run. You still have to do the whole dungeon and you get basically the same boss, except that it's always slower. So it's allowed. It's still considered valid. Oh, good thing he got the extra arrows.
Yeah, Mimic's just not cooperating. This is another room that just... There's lasers, especially the Mimics too, where it went so badly the first time. There's lasers, and if you're missing where you thought you were going to hit the Mimics, and you're trying to fix the Mimics, and they start shooting at you also. You're noticing a pattern that when these rooms go the way they're supposed to, they're easy. When they don't go the way they're supposed to, they're very difficult. That's kind of this game in a nutshell. So the lead that had become pretty large for Kosler is no longer... incredibly large, and with your 5.5 hearts into Gauntlet, we're gonna, and with a longer Aga fight ahead of him, we are very much still can go either way.
Even just one Aghanim might have been able to decide the winner of this match, but 2, with twice his normal powers, he definitely has the capability to.
This isn't even his final form. Boy, really rough RNG here in Gauntlet 3. These Gauntlet rooms can give there's a lot of RNGs to memorize. Nice job to dodge the laser there, though, in Gauntlet 4. He didn't want to take another hit. Although he's got plenty of health. Usually, after Gauntlet, you're probably not taking too much. Oh, okay. Well, after Gauntlet...
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
All right, 1.5 hearts. He still should be fine. As I was saying, once you're through Gauntlet, you shouldn't take too much damage. Obviously, anything can still happen, but that's the most damage-filled portion of GT easily.
Yeah, there's also, after this, there's a lot of Wizrobes that we kill, and those have very good chances of dropping hearts if he feels like he needs them. He can pick one up without too much trouble.
There.
Yeah, very reasonable.
It's actually, the Aga 1 is probably a safer fight than Aga 2 when you have no hearts at the end of GT.
Definitely, yeah. Going into Aga 2 with 1.5 hearts, it's not a super dangerous fight, but at the 1.5 heart level, you gotta. It's in the back of your mind that if things go wrong, you could end up actually taking a death there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, call to all disasters. If you can think of a disaster that could happen, it can happen in this category. So dying to Aga 2 is, something that plenty of runners have experienced.
If you do all of the optimal fastest stuff in this section, you can enter Aga 2 with like 2 or 3 hearts, which is definitely enough for things to go wrong. Matt coming up on his gauntlet, going into it with a few more hearts than Kosler did.
Yeah, this is where the safety hearts from the old man really can pay some dividends. If you're not comfortable, there's a lot of players who, even though they're technically capable of getting through Gauntlet with, taking 2 hearts of damage and then taking no more damage the rest of GT, sometimes it can be really intimidating. Starting out, taking a couple hits in Mimics, now you only have 3 hearts, and you start doing some what you think are safer strats in some of the Gauntlet rooms, and things start snowballing from there.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you kind of know you can do it, but do you really want to bank on that happening? Do you really want this to be the run where you take an extra heart of damage in Gauntlet?
And the reason you normally care about how healthy you are after GT in a normal run is you'd have to go fight Ganon, and you don't really want to fight Ganon in one-hit KO mode. In this mode, we're going to get a heart refill and go into Ganon with full health every time anyway, as soon as we're done with Aghanim's Tower. So as long as you have enough health at the end of GT to get through Aghanim's Tower, which itself is no walk in the park when you have 1.5 hearts, let's say. But certainly not as bad as having to drop to Ganon with 1 heart.
Yeah, that's really scary. Aghanim's Tower in this category, it's it's a lot like it's sort of a mini Ganon's Tower, and it's one of many things that are unlikely to kill you, but it's really hard to do fast. There's a lot of enemy RNG and a lot of tight execution in the rooms, but we do get to do it with just like crazy overgearing. We get the Fire Rod and the Tempered Sword, and so everything just kind of melts when we touch it.
Yeah, it definitely can be done
really
fast,
nice.
but like a lot of things in this game, the faster you're trying to do something, the more likely you might take damage. So even though you're super overgeared for it, taking a couple hits here and there, not out of the question. I think we're up to only 2 blue balls from Aga 1 Prime here for mkosler so far. And it looks like he's not going to get more than 3, so that's pretty good. It looks like it's going to be 3. Certainly not the worst that could have happened.
So I guess if you die in GT and don't fix Fake Dark World, you can technically get more than 15 blue balls in one run.
Think of the nerd credit you'd have for the rest of your days.
Oh, God. Almost knocked
we're
him
gonna
off.
get a 3 slash. Or a 2 slash and a spin, but that's okay. So yeah, definitely within the margin of error for an actual Aga 1 fight between these two. It's not what you want to see races come down to. I mean, we certainly have the potential in this category for Aga 1 to decide a lot of races if he wants to. It's not how we want the race to be decided, but we'll see. That's right. Actually, we're gonna get Paladin Link for the rest of Kosler's run. That's right. If you finish GT and Fake Dark World, you get Paladin Link here.
Which looks very cool and has no other effect on the game.
Yeah, it's just a cool Link sprite.
Got a black sword and shield and otherwise white.
Was that a 2 cycle from Matt? Wow, very. I think he got the triple there on Aga 2.
I wasn't watching closely enough, but definitely looked good.
I saw a triple, and then I looked back and saw another triple. So unless it was a 303, I think that was the 2 cycle. So,
except for the trouble getting in where he accidentally soft blocked, that looked like it was a very good GT out of Matt.
Yeah, once he got in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
His time is very close to his the time in his PB for that split, and that's including an extra clip. So that was really good, really strong GT.
There are definitely plenty of PBs that players will get in this category where they had a soft lock in their PB, though. So who knows what happened in the PB, but. Yeah, but really, outside of the 2 unfortunate things here at the end, Matt's run's been really solid.
Yeah,
and he's still alive in this. Like I said, they're both here in Aga Tower at the same time, and this may come down to what Aga 1 gives them both. Kosler's showing some really cool fire rod strats you can do in this dungeon, and gets the full magic here at the end, which is going to save him a lot of time in the refill, because you're going to see him go into the Aga 1 fight with lots of health and with lots of magic, which is not always the case at the end of Aghanim's Tower in this category. And having full magic or close to full magic and close to full hearts saves can save a couple seconds.
Yeah,
it's refill post Aga fight.
It's surprising how much time it takes for Aghanim to slowly fill up your magic from 0.
All right, so Kosler is going to be entering Aga 1. Let's see the exact time here.
Oh, I missed it. Did he go for hook speed stuff?
No, he had the fire rod out.
Right.
I don't think it's actually correct. If you're using fire rod strats in Aghanim's Tower, I don't think you want to go for the hook shot strat.
Yeah, I
the
think
hook
that's
speed.
true. I just forgot because I don't do fire rod strats in here.
It is fun to go for, but I don't know if it's worth the extra menu. I used to do hook strats in Aghanim's Tower and not go for the hook speed, so that's pretty lame. I'm glad I'm no longer that person.
Getting a little bit worse blue balls. He's already got 2 for 2
yikes.
here.
All right, so yeah, it looks like the difference is about 45-ish seconds for both these players.
That can change with bad enough Aghanim luck.
It's a lot of blue balls, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility.
Yeah. And Ganon has a little bit to say, too.
Yeah,
he can warp and save you or lose you 10, 15, 20 seconds if he feels like it.
Shout out to Matt's gold Aghanim's Tower there. Pretty nice.
Nice. I think that was 3 blue balls on Kosler's side, which I believe he got both times 3.
He's getting 6 total blue balls, I guess. So you can lose some time on Ganon with warp RNG, but losing this much time to just warps is probably not in the realm of possibility. So if mkosler can stick his Ganon fight here, which is far from a given for any player, Ganon can just go wrong. Torch glitch can go wrong. You can get knocked off the edge just when you think everything's going fine. So hopefully nothing terrible befalls him here, and both these runners get to finish up pretty strong.
It is really nice going into this fight with full health and full magic. In like any percent NMG, you generally enter with like 6 to 7 hearts and half magic, depending on how much stuff you want to pick up. So it's definitely a little bit safer, but Ganon is a big meanie and hits real hard, so it's definitely possible for things to go wrong.
Even going in here with full hearts, it's not you don't buy yourself that many more hits than you would going in with 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah, you feel good in this fight if you take a hit from something that only does 2 damage.
Yeah, most players will, after the first 2 phases, take an intentional hit so they don't have sword beams for the final phases, because that can be a little distracting. Nobody's really used to doing. You see Kosler there taking the damage boost back into the fire bat to get rid of the beams, just so that the rest of the fight looks the same as he's used to, really. I think that's why most players do it. Timing is very important in the 4th phase, so you don't want to be distracted by some sword beams or maybe a tiny extra bit of lag that might pop up there from shooting them out. But we got Matt in the Ganon fight now, too. He had, I think it was 1 or 2
I think I saw 2, but could
make up
easily
a little time there. Kosler getting a decent amount of warps, but now he's through, and he'll be starting phase 4. Torch glitch is going to be the important thing for him. Gets blue Ganon to start. He's not going to go for the spin, but he gets torch glitch. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
So barring a disastrous phase 4 here, Kosler should be taking this, but Matt's really not going to be too far behind. Executing a good fight himself. He's into phase 3 here.
Yeah, both players very clean first 2 phases, which is definitely the easiest place to lose a ton of time in this fight. And now we're going for these pretty tight timing on these spins to hit Ganon while he's right before he teleports. Kosler's doing a great job of getting. You can get up to 3 each time you light the torch. Can be pretty hard to get all 3, but these are both very good runners, and we should expect them to mostly nail it.
A lot of positions to learn for the Ganon fight, where you want to position Link before a hit, after a hit, on your way to another hit, relighting torches, a lot of stuff to remember and practice. But Kosler doing a great job of it. Sealing up the fight, sealing up the win. Looks like he's going to be going in, not with the time that he wanted, but he's going to be taking the win.
GG's to Kosler.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, his SRL time was 1:16:49, so not his best run, but still very good. It's a solid time.
Yeah, really right behind him. Good Ganon fight from really good Ganon fight from Matt. I think that's going to be a gold Ganon too for him. Yeah, so finishing up with a 1:17:12. Really, outside of the unfortunate T-Rock and GT entries, very, very solid run from Matt.
Yeah, this was a great race. Lead switched a few times. It was really close right up until the end. Both runners played very well with, just again, even small mistakes are so magnified in this category.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of large mistakes you can make, and you kind of forget or lose sight of all the small things that can go wrong that cost tons of time, even though they're small things too. And I think I've heard both Matt and mkosler join here GG's to both you guys.
Thanks, I guess.
GG's.
Oh,
Hey, it was fun to watch.
That's definitely true. I'm sure it was highly entertaining.
I actually have no idea what happened. I didn't watch the stream, but I'm guessing we both messed up horribly because I know I did.
Kosler had a costly death in GT, and then had to fight Aghanim 1 a second time. I forget what else went wrong.
Yeah, let me look at my actual splits, because that'll definitely tell me. I spent like 1,000,000 years in double readies. You also did.
Oh, right.
I had 2 cycles. I had 2 cycles, Matt. You only had 1, I think.
Yeah.
Pod was fine-ish.
But the real killer early was the soft lock going to desert.
That I thought I lost right then and there. Because we were basically I was comparing times, and we were basically like, he was ahead, then I was ahead, and it was like always like 1 second between, and then I yeeted myself right off the edge.
Yeah, it was super back and forth, super close. You guys, small mistakes for both of you on both sides, and it was kind of back and forth, really exciting to watch. And up until that desert yeet, where it just looked, okay, well now there's our first soft lock, and unfortunately wasn't the last soft lock we'd see. There were some issues with that.
Oh my god!
T-Rock. I think the problem, Matt, was you kept moving up after missing the mirror wrap. And so when you finally got it, you were too high and stuck in the wall.
I just can't press 2 buttons at the same time, man. I don't
it's
know
the hardest trick in the game.
It's the
hardest thing you can do.
So what you're telling me is that I was 2 minutes ahead, and you guys just got to watch my run completely unravel and to him catching up. That's how this went.
I don't think you were ever 2 minutes ahead. I think the most you were like 50, maybe 1 minute.
Okay, I can live with that.
Go into T-Rock. It was still very close.
Yeah.
And the soft lock there, took you from maybe a little less than a minute ahead to maybe a little less than a minute behind, and then the additional GT soft lock didn't help there. But Kosler had his own adventures in GT.
Mm-hmm. Even before Desert,
right?
Yeah, even before Desert, like freaking the second hardest room in the game. It doesn't matter. It's still the second hardest room in the game.
The mummy room. Yeah.
The mummy stuck to that statue, and I couldn't even pull the statue up. Like I was already way past everything, and the mummy just kept on poking me right through it. And so I just was like, whatever. I'm just gonna let the master hand take me, the wall master take me, and try this again.
Yeah, I liked the protest wall master. Instead of mirroring, you're just like, no, pick me up, get me out of here. I need a second to kind of reset myself anyway after what I just saw.
Right.
But look, they all the things. How many times do we say it about this run? There's so many things related to the tricks and clips that can go wrong, and then there's so many things that can go wrong just playing the game. So you're never. Whether you're in an easy section of the run or you're in the hardest section of the run, there's something that can happen that can cost you 5 seconds, 50 seconds, 3 minutes. It's all disasters.
I gotta say, when I went into Aga 2, well, ostensibly Aga 2, and everything, there weren't any after images. I was like, wow, that's pretty rare when they all spawn right on top of each other. And then the second time when it happened, I was like, oh.
Yeah, because we actually gone over a little bit before that when Matt died in Turtle Rock, and he exited and fixed Fake Dark World, even though he doesn't have to in Turtle Rock. We started saying, okay, so here's the places you do have to fix that, or want to fix it. So when you died in GT and didn't fix it, we're like, okay, all right, well he's gonna get Aga 1. That makes the race even closer because now we've got extra blue balls. Of course, Matt gets the 2 cycle Aga 2, so catches up even more time there. So I guess you didn't know that you would even be getting Aga 1 at the top there, huh?
Yeah, I didn't. I should have known because that's what happens in 80% RMG, right? You die in Aga or whatever. But I just wasn't like the red mimic in Michael Jackson room, the 4-2. What the hell was he all the way over there? I couldn't even push anything.
Losing 3 hearts even, trying to do the safe strat. Classic safe Michael Jackson.
Yeah, just And then dying in Mimics 2 because I was just completely flustered. I was even thinking, okay, do I get kisses from Old Man before I go in there? Because I saw that Matt had soft locked on TR Mirror app and then also died to Trinex. So I was like, do I just take it safe? It's like, it's fine. It's fine. If I take a heart of damage in the basement, I'll just do the even safer version of MJ Room where you gain a heart. But nope.
Yeah, the thing about Mimics 2 is I don't know if I've ever seen anybody mess it up and not take 3 hits of damage. Like, that must be the hardest thing to do. Mess up Mimics 2 and take no damage? Like, that never happens.
Especially if you screw up that bottom one like I did and he flies off to the side. It's like, there's no way that you can maneuver yourself where you're not going to be having a stare down with that dude.
Yeah, that's a tough room even when you get it right. And any mistake, it's just, I don't know how to recover that room. I think it's basically impossible.
Yeah.
But hey, that's your third race, Kosler, so you're done with the group stage already.
Yeah, somehow 3-0'd with this monstrosity plus 506.
Hey, I'm watching race results for all the races in the tournament. There's a lot of winning times that are 115, 116, 117, so that's how this tournament's going to go.
2 things, still better than one Josh RTA, and 2, I had 2 Aghanim 1 fights and 5 blue balls, so still 1 less than the average Apathy Duck Aghanim.
Wow. Anytime you can be 8 minutes ahead of a former world record holder in this run, like that's got to be something to be proud of.
Super inspiring.
I did want to shout out Matt, except for the soft lock going into GT, that looked like a really good GT, and then you also golded Aghanim's Tower right after, so you had a really strong finish to your run, which must
everything
have felt good.
From Aga 2 onward was great. Everything before Aga 2 was not so great.
Mm-hmm.
You got at the end there, gold Agate Tower, and that was definitely a gold again. And I know your split was late, but
yeah, I was just laughing so hard.
That was definitely gold.
I forgot to split because I saw Kosler's time, and I was like, "Oh my god!" At least we both blew it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I mean, if both runs can be, not up to the runner's usual standard, at least it's both, right? Not one person gets a 112 and one person gets a 117. Like this was fun. You guys should watch this back. It was a blast.
I'm 100% watching it back immediately.
Me too.
I mean, you get a win with total games played 10.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say double-digit games played.
Can't believe you're going to call me out like that, Dwayne.
Well, like I said, it's going to happen to everybody in this tournament. Everyone's going to have one of those. Oh my god, I put up 4 minutes over my PB. It's just you can't avoid that in this category, especially not when you put tournament stakes and tournament pressure on the line. There's just so much that can go wrong, and
that
something terrible is going to happen.
I think that's
you play 3 group stage games, and then however many games you might play in the brackets. It's going to happen to everybody.
I was going to say, I think that's what got to me. Like, I was surprisingly nervous when I was playing this, and I have not done a lot of AD runs, so that muscle memory isn't quite there. Mm-hmm. And so then those mistakes started piling up, and then I was like, oh no. And then it all kind of fell apart there in T-Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not easy. This was your first group stage match, right, Matt?
Yeah.
So you got 2 more coming up. Now you're feeling a little more comfortable with this one out of the way.
I don't know.
You're hoping to make groups. How are you feeling about eventually getting through groups here?
I feel pretty confident about getting through the group, but I can't have this happen again. I got some stuff to work on. I wish I had just died to Helma to be plus 4 minutes, and I'd be like, I could get silvers and solve this problem. Now I got 12 problems to solve. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely.
Well, like I said, the 117 would win a lot of the races so far that have happened in the group stage. So, all you can hope for is to minimize the disasters. Nobody's getting through these runs with very few people are getting through these runs with 0 disasters.
Yeah,
kind of a hallmark of the run. That's why I'm looking forward so much to the bracket stages, and even when you put 2 really great runners together, and you're gonna be seeing some wacky times and some hilarious, mistakes, and it's just it's gonna be a fun tournament.
I think we're going to see a lot of exciting upsets once we get to the bracket stages, especially.
Oh yeah. This is not a consistent category for literally anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, any last thoughts from you guys? Run or what you're looking forward to? I'm sure you guys have lots of thoughts about the runs, but
Yeah, I could
as we
talk
kind
your
of wrap
ear
up
off,
here.
but just want to thank y'all for doing the commentary. Thank ZSR for doing the restream. I think it was Nori who was doing the restream, so thank you so much. And yeah, other than that, that's it for me.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Kosler said. Thanks everybody for the commentary and the restream, and thanks to all the people that have done a lot of work putting this tournament together. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, thanks to you guys. You guys had the hard job, so way to go.
Thanks for putting
I
on
had
a
a
great
lot of
race
fun.
to us.
Yeah, Fox,
to watch.
it was great doing comms with you. This was a blast. I hope to be able to do a lot more during the tournament. And,
Yeah, same. This was a great time.
Yeah, shout out to Zelda Speedruns for putting these on and giving the tournament a little home here. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to start seeing more and more races on the restreams as we go through the groups and get into brackets, and it's going to be a blast. If you thought these runs were a lot of fun and with lead changes back and forth, just wait until we get even further into the tournament. It's going to be completely unpredictable.
Looking forward to it.
I guess I'll pop in now. GG's to both mkosler and Matt. It was a great race. It was so back and forth all the time. I also really just love seeing the glitches because I find it very interesting. Also, big shout out to Bwayne and Fox Lisk for doing commentary tonight. Much appreciated. Thank you, gentlemen. And I guess thanks everyone for joining us today. It's always a lot of fun to do these, so I'm going to try and do as many as I can. I guess the next one we're having up for restream, unless something else comes up, is going to be on Wednesday at 9 p.m. ET. It's going to be the 7 versus 1UP40 in Group O. So I'm hoping I will be available to do that restream as well. And okay, must be a blip in the audio. Okay, so I guess unless anyone has any further comments or anything else they want to say or anything else they want to say about the tournament, I guess we'll call it a night.
Thanks so much, Nori. GG to everybody. See everybody next
GGs.
time.
Okay, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.